Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today we are looking at Copart more in depth. I also have a IAA video similar to this where I went through the whole website. So if you are kind of trying to compare the two websites, Copart versus Insurance Auto Auctions, I do have a video for that. Please check it out. But this will be a informative video, more or less kind of go through what you see on the screen, what everything means, what I look for when buying a vehicle, and hopefully this will be helpful to you guys. We are going to start, and first we're going to show you the lot number. So this is a unique number that is assigned to every single vehicle on Copart. And if we just do a search from that, it pulls up a BMW. Now let's just, I don't know, change the last two numbers, see if we get anything. We don't. Usually doesn't work when you kind of plug and play. But this number is unique to this car. So if you don't have an account, this is the number you would write down and then search for it, and this car will come up for you. So next we have is the document type. This is where Copart is pretty darn helpful. If you hover over this question mark, it will tell you that it's a salvage title certificate branded totaled. Now for Oregon, the way I learned is Oregon salvage title certificate usually means that insurance is the seller. For Oregon, when you see Oregon certificate of title reconstructed, this means that the car has already been registered after the insurance totaled the car out, and this vehicle is not sold by the insurance company. I don't know how it is for other states. I highly suggest that you learn the terminology because it is different. And in Oregon, the two right here, Oregon Salvage Title Certificate and Oregon Certificate of Title Reconstructed, although both are salvage titles in the end, to me, the key is who is selling it. This is insurance, aside from seeing the seller right up front. This document tells me everything, and I have not been wrong on this yet. Next we have is the odometer. Here's what it shows us. Actual means that more or less they guarantee that this is the actual mileage they know for the car. Sometimes they'll say exempt or non-actual. I personally don't really stress over those because if we look at something like this, 41,000 miles and it says exempt, but the odometer shows 41,000 miles. They do this more or less to kind of cover their rear. Most of the cars will say exempt, not required, not actual. It doesn't mean that the miles aren't actual. In my experience, this is totally fine. Unless you have a reason to be suspicious, I think don't be suspicious. Next up, we have the highlights. This is what Copart calls them. And this vehicle's highlight is that it's a run and drive. They have a few different sections for highlights, what they consider highlights. And those can actually be seen if you go to any branch location or when you search for a vehicle under the Find Vehicles. Here are, on this page they call them featured items, and you could filter down buy now, run and drive, no license required, pure sale, and so on and so forth. These are very helpful because for someone like me, I only want run and drive cars, and this is how I do it, and then I usually filter it by make, and I will see cars A to Z in alphabetical order. Back on this BMW, the next thing we have here is the seller. The one negative thing, in my opinion, the single-handed negative thing, is that Copart does not tell you who the seller is on most of the vehicles. I believe they will tell you clearly this insurance company, USAA, and Farmers Insurance. And I think there are maybe one or two other smaller insurance companies like this one. Aside from that, you do not see who the seller is. But there is a way around it. When you go to the auction to look at the car physically, I know at the Portland location, if you ask them to show you the title on their computer screen, they will show it to you. And if the insurance is the seller, it will always tell you the insurance company. And they've shown me titles before on vehicles I was interested in, and it's a person's name or it's a dealership, and that's not the vehicle I'm interested in. So that's a walk around. But the catch is you do have to go in person to look at the vehicle and ask the people at the front desk to see the title to this vehicle. Going down the list, we have primary damage and secondary damage. So here we see it says front end, and secondary damage is minor dents and scratches. This is one you want to look at. I mean, usually on a car it's clear where the damage is, but it's very helpful to look at the secondary damage because, you could say side, and then it would be something minor, around the wheel well that you just didn't catch, but they marked it. So that's one thing I would really pay attention to. Next up we have the retail value. This is a section I don't really look at. This is basically a number given by the insurance company, the value of the vehicle before the accident. And to me, this value has rarely been accurate. I honestly don't really know where they pulled this number out of. I'd be curious to know. If you guys know, please leave it in the comment section below. But for me personally, I don't really look at this number. Right under that, we have the VIN number, and VIN number is always helpful. The one thing I would suggest you guys doing is throw it into Google, and the trick is put quotes around it and then search for it, and then you could hit images. If you find any other images aside from clearly these Copart images, say for instance it had damage in the rear, or the car looks to be too good to be true on Copart, run the VIN in Google. If it was previously damaged and sold at an auction, high chances that you will find it in Google Images, and then you can make a decision from there. Going a little bit lower, under the features section, we have body style, which is station wagon, very self-explanatory. Vehicle type, it's an automobile. This will change in a motorcycle or airplane, boat, whatever it is. Color, blue. Engine type, 3-liter, inline 6-cylinder. Automatic transmission. This is one I would pay attention to because sometimes the pictures are not very clear and they don't do a good job showing you whether it is an automatic transmission or a manual transmission. So double check here. Right under that, we have the driveline. This is also important for when you're buying a vehicle. I use it for pickup trucks, and when you don't have a clear sign, whether it's 4x4 rear wheel drive, this is always where I look. Fuel type is also important because if you are looking for a gas vehicle, you don't want to accidentally buy a diesel. In some cars, diesels are better, but if that's not what you're looking for, that would be a disappointment. And last on here, we want to make sure that the car has keys, especially if it's a run and drive. If it's a run and drive with no keys, most likely the ignition is busted and you could start it with a screwdriver, for example. Or if it's a non-runner and it shows no keys, that could be a really good buy for someone, in mind that, hey, maybe it only needs keys and then it will start and I just got a crazy good deal. And possibly one of my favorite sections on this whole page is this. So when you hit on that, it will pull up everything you need to know about the vehicle from the factory. So you have your technical specifications, and here it confirms that the transmission is automatic. Here is the style, X-drive, all-wheel drive, and you have your engine information, 230 horsepower, 200 pound-feet of torque. Then you have your standard equipment, pretty much everything you need to know about the vehicle. And I love this section because it gives me options that the car has. And when I resell it, I can list all of these options in my ad. Let's go back to a nicer looking car. And in the top right hand corner, we have the bid information. Here we have bid status outbid because I am not winning this vehicle right now. Sale status right here is pure sale. Pure sale means that the last bidder or the highest bidder during the live auction will own this vehicle. There are two others, which is minimum bid and on approval. In my experience, vehicles that are sold on approval are usually sold by private party or dealers. Minimum bid could be either way. It's kind of a toss up. But pure sale vehicles, especially say, if this Lamborghini came up and it was a pure sale from the get-go, then most likely insurance company is selling it. The only other time this will be changed to pure sale from something else is if it had a minimum bid of say 30,000 and it's at 32,000 now. This will automatically change to pure sale, and that doesn't really help you. I feel like pure sale is only helpful when you jump in on the action early on and you see it was a pure sale from the start. But here is my maximum bid, the current bid, and then we could type in a new bid on the vehicle and hit increase. Here is another section that only comes up when you can buy a vehicle as a buy now. So this is the buy now price of 120,000, and you could hit buy now. It will ask you to confirm, or you could make an offer on the vehicle and they will present it to the seller. And if they accept it, then congratulations, you own a McLaren 720S. But if we don't have a buy now, this is the last section we have, which is the sale information. This tells us the location of the vehicle, and you could hit on this and it will open up a new page where it will give you the address and it will give you the hours, the phone number. You could get directions and then see the next upcoming auction and a few details of how the auction is run. And then you have your storage fees, which it gives you day of sale plus 2 more days. And then here is your storage fee, which is $5 per day. Back to here where we see lane item grid row number. This will only populate at the very latest day of the auction. Go to the auction physically and you want to look at this car, they will set it as a priority to put it in a place where you could look at it, and then this number will get updated. Sale name, not sure why they kind of duplicate this information here, but sale name and location is pretty much the same. Here's your sale date. It will give you the time it starts. For me, where I am, it's Pacific time, and all auctions start at noon. Different auctions, outside of this time zone will start at a different time. So make sure you don't mess this up and miss the auction and don't get the car that you wanted to purchase. Time left is shown here. So the auction is Monday, October 21st. So that means there is a day and 14 hours left to make a pre-bid on this vehicle. And this section right here is pretty important, not for vehicles that are already playing, not for vehicles that are already up for auction, but for vehicles that don't have an assigned auction date. You could see that it was last updated. For instance, if I was waiting on this vehicle and it was last updated in May of 2019, that would be a sign that it's possibly an insurance company selling it and they are waiting for the title before they could sell it. You could really use this last updated feature to your advantage. For something like this, it's already assigned, it's playing in essentially a day and a half. I wouldn't find much use out of it, but vehicles that don't have a date assigned to them, auction date, you could use it to your advantage. This will be it for today's video. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for your support. And remember, if you are interested in insurance auto auction, there is another video for that website that I kind of go through similar to this one. But again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for joining. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. Hit that thumb up and subscribe if you are not a subscriber already. Take care, guys.